Loneliness took me by surprise, guiding me along an unexpected journey I never anticipated. Once, the flame of my marriage flickered brightly, but now it has dimmed, leaving behind a chill in the air. My husband, perpetually occupied and often aloof, regarded me more as a housemate than a partner in life. The night stretched on, a canvas of emptiness. Conversations flowed like a monotonous river, and intimacy faded into the shadows of forgotten times. I reassured myself that this was simply the way things unfold after so many years together. Yet beneath the surface, a yearning stirred within me, desire for attention, for passion, for something to awaken the vibrant essence of my being. There he stood, my stepson, brimming with confidence, keenly observant, and possessing a depth of perception that took me by surprise. Initially, it was innocent, mere glances and brief encounters, where I sensed a recognition that had faded from my husband's gaze. I brushed it aside, persuading myself that it was merely a figment of my imagination. Yet, the harder I attempted to brush it aside, the more it captured my attention. The way his gaze held for just a heartbeat longer than necessary. He had a knack for being present, lingering in the background, as if he were anticipating a moment that hung in the air, unvoiced yet palpable. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I found myself once again in the aftermath of a quiet dinner with my husband. Seeking solace, I made my way to my room. The solitude had grown too heavy to bear. In that moment, I yearned for a brief respite, a chance to break free, even if only for a fleeting instant. The house lay still, a hush enveloping the space as my husband retired early for the night. I imagined my stepson tucked away in his room, immersed in the mysterious realm that often captivates young men, a world all his own. My hands roamed freely, searching for an escape from the mounting frustration that churned within me. My breath quickened, my mind clouded, as I found myself submerged in the overwhelming sensation of finally feeling something. Engrossed in the moment, I failed to notice the door slowly creaking open. When the truth dawned on me, the moment had already slipped away. I stood still, caught in the moment. My stepson stood there, a mystery etched on his face. Surprise, delight. What else is there? The quiet that enveloped us felt like an eternity. My heart raced with intensity, a blend of dread and a shadowy essence coiling within me. I hurried to shield myself, yet the harm had already been inflicted. He had witnessed it all. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation, a silent connection weaving through the space between us. He remained still, his gaze unwavering. My voice emerged as a whisper. It is not your place to be here. He tilted his head slightly, his lips curling into an expression that danced on the edge of a smile. My apologies for the interruption. His tone was serene, almost unnaturally so. That wasn't the response I anticipated. No shame, no discomfort, something more intentional, carefully crafted. It sent a shiver across my skin. Go, I murmured, uncertain if I truly meant it. He paused, his gaze locked onto mine. With a deliberate motion, he pivoted and departed, gently closing the door as he went. I lingered in that moment, my breath caught, my heart racing like a drum in my ears. What had just unfolded? And why, despite the overwhelming embarrassment, did an exhilarating thrill surge within me? Shame should have been the only feeling coursing through me. Yet, I found myself wide awake for hours, reliving that moment repeatedly, my body still aching from the unresolved tension that lingered in the air. The following morning, I steered clear of him. Every time I dared to glance his way, a wave of warmth flooded my cheeks, making it impossible to meet his gaze. As I sat at the breakfast table, my husband faced me, lost in the glow of his phone, utterly unaware of the world around him. If he had any inkling of the events that unfolded the night prior, of what his son had witnessed, it would all come to an end. I turned my attention to the warm cup of coffee in my hands, seeking solace to calm my racing thoughts. Yet, I sensed his gaze upon me. He was simply not evading my presence. He was observing me with even greater intensity than he had before. Each look, each subtle movement in his seat, seemed intentional. He was putting me to the test, observing my every response, eager to uncover how I would react. Is everything all right? My husband's voice pierced the thick air of tension. I conjured a smile. It seems the night was not kind to you. A soft chuckle escaped my stepson, a sound so faint yet potent. It sent a shiver racing down my spine. He understood. He was fully aware of his intentions. Throughout the day, I made attempts to maintain my distance, yet it proved to be an impossible task. He always appeared, lingering just a bit too near when I reached for something, his presence brushing against me in the hallway. Unplanned, but with purpose, the atmosphere surrounding us buzzed with an unspoken tension, a thrilling danger that lingered in the silence, palpable and undeniable for both of us. As the evening unfolded, I found myself tidying up the kitchen, while he stood by the counter, observing my every move. Though I feigned indifference, a subtle tremor coursed through my hands as I rinsed the dishes. "There's no need to be so anxious," he remarked with an easy demeanor. I paused for a brief moment, caught in the grip of uncertainty, before summoning the strength to continue on my path. "I'm not quite sure I follow your thoughts." His smirk grew more pronounced. "Once upon a time, in the quiet embrace of the night, my breath was momentarily suspended. I turned to face him, striving to maintain a calm facade, yet the intensity in his gaze unraveled my composure. He felt no shame. He bore no shame. He found himself captivated. I took a deep breath. That was indeed a misstep. He advanced a step nearer. Was it? I ought to have put an end to it right then and there. I ought to have stopped whatever was unfolding before it took a turn for the worse. Yet I chose not to. I stood there, allowing the tension to swell, letting his words hang in the air between us. He extended his arm beyond me, retrieving a glass from the cabinet, the warmth of his skin brushing against mine. It was the faintest brush, yet it sparked a surge throughout my whole being. I tightened my grip. It simply cannot unfold. He remained right there. So, what holds you back from taking that step away? I found myself without a response, for the simple reason that I had no desire to. For the first time in years, I felt acknowledged, desired, and that filled me with dread. Just as I was about to speak, I heard my husband's voice resonate from the other room. "Darling, are you ready to join me in our cozy haven for the night?" The weight of reality descended upon me. I took a step back, creating a space that separated us. My stepson just observed me, his eyes brimming with an emotion that was difficult to decipher. I turned and walked away, yet his gaze lingered, a searing presence that followed me long after I had disappeared from sight. The days that followed were filled with an overwhelming heaviness. Each second spent in his presence was charged with an electric tension, as if the air itself held its breath, waiting for the inevitable explosion. He carried himself with ease, never appearing uncomfortable or detached. He had become bolder, more intentional in every move he made. My husband, lost in the whirlwind of his work, remained oblivious, leaving me exposed to the allure I was desperately striving to fend off. One evening, my husband shared that he would be away for a few days. I nodded, feigning indifference as if it held no sway over me. Yet, the moment he departed, I sensed a change in the atmosphere. My stepson was aware of it as well. All obstacles had vanished, and there were no more justifications left. That night, I found myself on the couch, feigning interest in a movie, yet my mind wandered elsewhere. Untouched by the flickering screen, I sensed his footsteps approaching, the air thickening with the intensity of his gaze. He chose a different spot this time, not sitting across from me as he typically did. He positioned himself right beside me, a little too close for comfort. I felt the surge of tension, Yet I remained rooted in place. Are you still acting as if nothing is unfolding? He inquired, his voice flowing like a gentle stream, laced with a hint of playful mischief. I released a gentle breath. This is no mere pastime. He leaned in slightly, his arm grazing against mine. Then, the plane came to a halt. I ought to have departed, to have turned my back before the sands of time slipped away. Yet I lingered on. I lingered, ensnared in the perilous attraction that bound us together. His fingers glided along the side of my hand, a whisper of contact that sent delightful shivers racing up my spine. I turned to face him, and for a fleeting moment, silence enveloped us both. The air crackled with anticipation, the distance that separated us dwindling with each heartbeat. This is wrong, I murmured softly. His gaze deepened into shadows. So, what is it that draws you to it? I found myself without a response. My body turned against me before my mind could even comprehend the shift. As his hand glided to my thigh, all the reasons to hold back slipped away from my mind. It was daring. Taboo. Yet, in that moment, I had never experienced such a vivid sense of existence. I yielded to the magnetic draw, to the flame that had been quietly burning between us for far too long. Each touch sparked a flame within me, awakening feelings I had long kept hidden. It transcended mere longing. It was about the yearning to be desired, experiencing a sense of recognition that had eluded me for quite some time. In a fleeting moment, a voice within me cried out to halt my actions. Yet, that voice faded into the background, overshadowed by the intensity of his gaze. The emotions he stirred within me. As the lines blurred and boundaries shattered, I found myself reflecting on how far we had ventured. By the time the realization struck, the path behind us had vanished, leaving no room for retreat. Hours later, as I lay there gazing at the ceiling, the weight of reality descended upon me. The gravity of the recent events enveloped me, a mix of suffocation and exhilaration swirling together in a captivating embrace. I had embarked on a journey beyond imagination. Yet, what filled me with greater dread was not the regret. It was the undeniable truth that I felt no regret whatsoever. The dawn broke far too early. As I stirred from slumber, I found myself ensnared in unfamiliar linens, the heavy hand of reality settling upon my shoulders. My body still held on to every touch, every whispered word. Yet my mind was already caught in a whirlwind. What had I done? I turned to gaze upon him, still lost in slumber, his face a canvas of relaxation and tranquility. He carried no burdens of remorse. I felt the pang of jealousy over that. With each heartbeat echoing in my chest, I quietly slipped out of bed, my hands deftly gathering my clothes in the stillness of the night. Each step I took seemed to echo with the weight of treachery, not only against my husband but also against the very existence I believed I had crafted. As I stepped out, the weight of guilt crashed over me like a relentless tide. Yet, beneath the surface, hidden away, lay something entirely different. A rush that beckoned me irresistibly. Last night, a surge of vitality coursed through me like never before. I attempted to maintain my composure. Yet he did not follow suit. At breakfast, he had transformed. Assured. Clingy. His gaze bore into me with a fervor that quickened my heartbeat. He was not merely a blunder I could wipe away. He was aware of it. And he wished me to be aware of it as well. Later that morning, my husband called, his voice weaving through the air and gently guiding me back to reality. He spun a tale of his journey, shared anecdotes of his job, and meandered through various topics, all the while sidestepping the heart-wrenching truth of his wife's deep betrayal. I compelled myself to act as if all remained the same, yet deep down, everything had shifted. As I ended the call, I found my stepson standing there, casually leaning against the doorframe. His smirk sent a delightful shiver through my very being. "You're overthinking it," he remarked. I folded my arms, seeking to create a barrier between us. In the face of such madness, he merely shrugged. Perhaps. Yet, It came to pass. I gulped with difficulty. It shall not unfold once more. He drew nearer. Are you certain of that? I was not. That was the dilemma. I felt compelled to agree, to bring closure before it unraveled any more. Yet, I was all too familiar with who I was. The line had been crossed, and there was no turning back now. Throughout the day, I steered clear of him, yet it held no significance. The harm had been inflicted. Each time I shut my eyes, his hands seemed to linger on me. Each time he passed by, my body responded instinctively, before my mind had a chance to intervene. On that fateful night, my husband returned home. He pressed his lips to mine, whispering how much he longed for me. I donned a smile, embracing the role of the devoted wife. Yet, my stepson lingered in the shadows, his gaze fixed on me, a silent understanding passing between us, a secret woven into the fabric of our shared experience. Before me lay to Pats, act as if the world remains unchanged, while carrying the heavy burden of this treachery within your heart, or yield once more, fully aware that it would shatter all that exists. As my husband enveloped me in his embrace, an emptiness washed over me, without a flicker, without a glow. As my stepson glided by, his fingers just whispering against my skin, I felt a sudden catch in my breath. The decision had been made long before. I simply wasn't prepared to acknowledge it just yet.